find that when a woman complains of a man sexually harassing her, usually there are other women that he has done it necessarily in that particular form. It has to do with what a particular woman elicits in that man's sexual taste, what he will do at a particular point in time. But you know, the man's life is not over. In other words, we cannot assume that because he hasn't done it up to this point, if he has not, in exactly this way, that means he didn't do it to her.
But we're not judging future behavior here either.
No, we're not. I'm just saying that based on a pattern one can't, that has not had an opportunity to run its course as a pattern, we cannot assume that because he may not at this point in time be consistent with that pattern, that he didn't do it.
Catherine McKinnon, thank you very much. Let's go now to the White House and NBC's John Cochran, who's standing by there. John?
We've just received a written statement from the press secretary of the President, Marlon Fitzwater. I'll just read it. Judge Clarence Thomas' message tonight was a powerful testament to his integrity and character. He should be confirmed to the Supreme Court. His testimony speaks for itself. As I say, the White House was fully aware of his hard-hitting strategy tonight, the strategy followed by Judge Thomas, including something that the Georgetown professor just referred to, the racial illusions about an uppity black in the way he was treated. As the professor mentioned, similar tactics were used against a white man, Judge Robert Bork. I pointed that out to a senior White House official here. I also pointed out that the charges were, after all, made by a black woman. The answer I got back was, yes, but it's an all-white committee, and whites on that committee leaked the document which caused all the trouble. In a sense, what we see here, I think, is a partial return to the strategy followed by Judge Thomas and his advisors during the earlier confirmation proceedings. As you're well aware, as Andrea Mitchell, and I believe yourself probably, Tom, have pointed out, there was the feeling that on the part of those advising Judge Thomas, it would be a good thing for them if they could present him as a sole black man up against an all-white committee. And again, to some degree, according to the senior official I talked to, that strategy was followed tonight.
And John Cochran, let me ask you as well about how much the White House was involved in the character of his testimony tonight. He made a very emphatic point of saying earlier today at his opening statement, which was quite compelling and forceful, "I wrote this myself, no White House handlers or outside help." Was that the case tonight as well?
I'm not sure. I know that the White House was fully aware, and at the time he was testifying this evening, I was talking to a White House official, and he told me, he said, and keep listening, it's going to get rougher as it goes on. In fact, it did get rougher as it went on. So they knew what was going to happen. Whether or not, what the extent of the collaboration was, I don't know. I'm not aware, for example, that any White House speechwriters sat down and worked with him on this.
All right, thanks very much, John Cochran at the White House. Let's go back to the Capitol now. NBC's Katie Couric is there with the Senator from Vermont, Pat Leahy, who was one of the questioners earlier today of Anita Hill.
Thanks,
Katie?
Tom. Senator Leahy, every time we've talked today, it seems like the mood in that hearing room has changed. Clarence Thomas was very forceful in his denials tonight. Do you now doubt Anita Hill's allegations?
I think many of us realize that when you have two people talking about something, sometimes you see the same thing differently. Was the car going too fast, or was it the wet road? But this is not such a case. I mean, this is so diametrically opposite that it is not two people viewing a similar event from different eyes. At this stage, one of them is not telling the truth. I mean, one person has to be telling the truth. The other person could not be telling the truth because they are so diametrically opposed. It's not having a different view on the same set of circumstances.
So who do you think is lying?
I don't know. And I would hope that before we get done, we might have a view. I will try to reserve judgment to all the people who testified. Judge Thomas was absolutely right in saying, bring some other people in here who could talk about me. And we're going to do that.
You're going to bring, in fact, 17 witnesses tomorrow.
We're going to bring in people who could talk about him. We're going to be bringing people who can talk about Anita Hill. We could conceivably reach the end of this virtually unprecedented situation and still not know. People have a feeling in their own mind. I can't tell in my own mind. And I've tried hundreds of cases. I've had a lot of witnesses who disagree with each other. Tonight, just sitting here right this moment, I can't tell who's telling the truth and who's not. But one of them is not telling the truth because it'd be impossible for them to be that diametrically opposed.
Do you think his testimony sounded rehearsed?
Well,